everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel. And this is your tip of the week and it's all about scrap fabric. So let's get started. I have a tub of scrap fabric and as you can see, it's really full. I fill this bucket up or this tub so quickly, and whenever friends come over who like to sew, I ask them please go to my scrap tub and pull out pieces that you like. Now you can see here I've pulled out some already, and they are a variety of shapes, colors, sizes. You may even have one that looks like this. This is usable, don't throw this away. Then you'll have others with maybe a large section and a smaller section. So you can take these scraps and make a larger piece of fabric. So what you would do is you could just take, let's say, these two pieces. And if you use a serger, like I like to use, you can just go along here. It'll cut the edge, so any little stringy pieces that are there will cut it off for you. If you don't have a serger, then of course you would cut this off with a pair of scissors. So you would just keep building by placing fabric pieces on there in any direction that you like until it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you get it to the size that you want. Now I recommend that you just make smaller sections, like work in anywhere from 10.5 to 12.5 inch blocks. Now I made a green table runner out of my scraps because I use a lot of green in my projects. So I pulled out as much of the green that I could find. Anything that had a little bit of green in it, I pulled it out. And I did make this long table runner, and I'll show you what it looks like in a moment. But I didn't want to make one great big long piece. So what I did was make smaller ones and then stitch those smaller ones together. So I wanted my pieces to be at least 12 inches wide. And it didn't matter what the width was this way. As long as it was one side was 12 inches. So, and you can twist and turn these in any direction that you like and then cut it down to the size you want to make it. Since I want it to be 12.5 inches, this is a 12.5 inch square ruler. Remember, if you want to get into sewing and quilting, I recommend a 12.5 inch square ruler. And then I'm just going to turn it and finish cutting it to where it's even across on all the edges. In other words, none of the edges are crooked or lopsided in any way. So you would create a bunch of little blocks like this, and then you would stitch them together. So let me show you what my table runner looks like. Now I have a very long dining table because my husband likes to make a lot of food. So we want to make sure that there's room for the food. Not so much people, but the food. And so I wanted it to be primarily green because right now most of the accents in my home are green. And as you can see, there is no rhyme or reason as to which way the little pieces are going. So this is often something used in what we call a crazy quilt. It's a crazy design. There's no rhyme or reason to the way it's going. Now another thing I did with this table runner, which is another tip for you, is it's two-sided. So I put a solid yellow on it. So if you wanted to, you could turn it over and use the back side. I'm now going to show you a method I use for putting scraps together when I want to make a pot holder. So you're going to take two pieces. They don't have to be the same size and they don't have to be a perfect cut. And I'm going to stitch them along together right here. So I'm going to bring front sides together and I'm just going to stitch this edge right here. So I'm going to put it under my machine and I'm just going to do a standard 1/4 inch seam, nothing wide. And by the way, your seams can be any width you want. They can go at a crazy angle. It's any way you want to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and stitch this side up. All right. So now I'm going to just finger press this a little bit, and I'm going to take my next piece, and I have one of these little tiny rotary cutters. I'm just going to cut some of it off. All right, so now I'm just going to take this piece and go along this way and add it on. Now remember what I said, one cool thing about the serger is it would cut all of this off for you. So now I'm going to trim just a little bit of this off. So using one of these small cutting mats right next to your sewing machine is really helpful. So then just take this off. Now I'm gonna finger press this a little bit. And now you're going to go around and around. So I already did this side. So now I'm going to turn it. And I'm going to go over to this side right over here. And I'm going to take, I think, some of this purple and add it on. Remember, it doesn't need to be a pretty cut. Just take it over there. Your seams don't need to be straight. You can go all wonky if you want to. Okay, so now I'm gonna just trim this a little bit. Remember, it doesn't need to be perfect. And because I didn't quite make it over here, I'm just gonna go along next that seam and stitch just a little bit more. Okay. All right, and then you would trim it a little bit better. So now I'm going to unfold this piece and finger press it. Now I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to keep going in one direction. Now for those of you who do a lot of quilting, you like to do log cabin blocks, then this method seems a little familiar to you. So I'm going to stitch this side down. Remember, your seams don't all need to be even if you don't want them to be. Now, if you like everything perfect, that's not a problem either. Just take more time cutting it. And so now, and then again, you would trim that edge. Now I'm going to take some of this yellow and build it on. Now, because I'm making a pot holder, I don't need it to be very big, but I want it more than, let's say, 8.5 inches square, because most of my pot holders, that's what I do. And then, of course, you would trim it down. Now, I'm not taking the time to trim it, but I mostly want to show you the pattern. And then I'm going to add this other piece on. And I'm going to go out to about here and add it on. Okay, and I'm going to take this last piece of pink, I think. Well, it's not a long enough strip, but what I would do is cut this off. Anything that's sticking out, it doesn't have to be a perfect cut. And you would keep going round and round till you got it to the size you would like. Here's one that I made with a serger. So you can see the edges are really cleaned up really nice. So you save a lot of time when you have a serger, when you're doing projects like this. When you're doing it with a sewing machine, it's a little bit slower process, but it turns out the same. So I'm now going to take this piece and cut it into an 8-inch square because I want to make a pot holder out of it. Now you can turn it a little bit and put it in any direction you want to get your square out of it. But I'm just going to keep it square on like this. You can go way off this way, way over this way, and then go ahead and cut. So I'm going to go ahead, show you how to cut it. I'm going to cut these first two edges first. And then I'm now going to take this corner and bring it over there. So now I've got this. I'm now going to place my 8-inch line here and here on these two edges. So, and this is how you square block. All right, and then you just take it, and then you can take these leftover pieces and put it in another project. Here's a pot holder that I've already completed. Now, isn't this pretty? Just did a very basic pot holder. I did the quilt-as-you-go method as far as covering the edges, so that covering the raw edges. And this is what it looks like on the back. And these make great gifts. And for those of you who like to sew and sell, this is a great way to use up your scrap inventory and earn money on it. I hope you enjoyed this tip of the week and that you learned something new. If you're interested in other tips of the week, you want to scroll down to the description section by clicking on Show More or the down arrow, and it'll open up and you'll see a link, a playlist link, to all of my sewing tips of the week. Also, make sure you follow me on Instagram and check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. If you like the Sewing Room channel, one of the best ways to show your support is to subscribe by clicking on that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And make sure you click on the bell so you receive notifications for all my new videos. I'm Cheryl, this is Manny, and this is Scotty. See you next time.